Hello, everyone. In this session, we will be talking about Amazon Seller Central, how to deal with Amazon Seller Central support. Our guest today will be Danny McMillan from Seller Sessions and Databricks company, and he will share us a few tips how to talk to support and how to make conversation and communication much better. I wanted to mention that this session is sponsored by three companies. It's Getida, Zonguru, and Awesome. Getida is a Amazon FBA audit and reimbursements company and solution for Amazon sellers to get money back from Amazon. And you can find their link and special offer below in the description. Zonguru is a Amazon software for sellers for any need for them during their journey, during their business. So it's an all-in-one suite. You can get a lot of different tools from product research to ranking and so on. So you will find the link below to Zonguru as well, also a special offer. And finally, Awesome is a FBA business aggregator. It's ex-Amazonians created this company for Amazon sellers. So if you are planning to sell your Amazon brand, talk to them and maybe you will manage to have a transaction with them. And during this video, you will also meet Lisette Lees. She's a video host at KLIK and she works with different Amazon sellers. And our guest today is...
Let's get ready for Danny McMillan at the KLIK Box Cemetery.
And here is Danny.
I've got my own theme tune. I feel privileged.
Hi, Danny. We're really happy to have you. For those who don't know your background, could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you have been doing in Amazon space so far and what you are up today?
Yeah, I started selling on Amazon in 2015. Since then, I launched a podcast, Seller Sessions, which is for advanced Amazon sellers, or the largest podcast for advanced Amazon sellers. Also run the yearly conference Seller Session Live that takes place in London. I also run Branded by Women, which supports females within our space. That's a yearly event, and also Seller Poll, which is the awards for the Amazon community that takes place each year. And I'm the co-founder of Databricks with Dr. Ellis Whitehead, and we look after 7- and 8-figure brands and their PPC.
All right, and what you will be sharing with us today, I know that you have some insider seller support.
So what happened is I got acquainted with a seller support rep that works at Amazon. He also is a part-time seller, so we built up a kind of relationship. And originally he was going to come on the podcast and share experiences and stuff, or we would have done it with just an audio feed rather than a camera. We're talking about pitching up and down, but we know that on podcasts, people play at 1.5, 1.7 speed, and that would reveal his voice. So what it did is, over a period of time, he was revealing stuff to me and I was asking questions. The idea behind it wasn't just like secret sauce like you get in the masterminds. It's like, how does sellers communicate better with Amazon? What really goes beyond behind doors? And what is the biggest gap is the language. And, you know, things like people always talking about like the captive team, this mystical captive team. So it's like putting some of that stuff, information right. Their AI systems, which I'll go into in the slides and stuff. But the end goal is with Q4 coming up, what's the ultimate way of able to communicate with the guys at Amazon and get the results that you need? So there's 10 hacks or so and a bonus. There I go. Look, sound like a marketer. 10 hacks and a bonus. But no, there's just a slipstream of breaking down or going through all these things to make your life a lot easier to deal with seller support, because we know dealing with seller support is one of the most painful things and most frustrating things on Amazon. So hopefully, if you're equipped better to deal with them and understand how the inner workings of Amazon works, then it's going to make your life much, much easier.
Perfect. Someone actually is sending you hearts.
Oh, thank you. I love you too.
Yeah. All right, Danny. So thank you. We're ready to listen to your presentation.
So interviewing a seller support rep led to a goldmine of information. sellers are frustrated with dealing with seller support, and equally seller support associates find it difficult with our FBA language. And what I mean by that is that we speak a different language outside versus what their SOPs are, and the fact that most of these, it's an entry-level job at Amazon. So this is the first port of call in order to get in there. Most would not have sold on the platform and have no clue before starting their 8 weeks training. So today is about speaking the same language as they use to communicate inside of Amazon. So this is to make your life easier and the process all round. So let's get started. So the first thing is all tickets are allocated 18 minutes. So we need to make it count within that time period. Now, this can titrate up and down. A ticket can take 1 minute. They could spoil a ticket, and it could take 23 minutes. But ultimately, the goal is, and there's no incentive behind it financially. So whilst they're working with 18 minutes to play with, that's an average. Now, they have Big Brother on board because they've got a quality assurance team that checks their work and makes sure they're towing the line, if you like. So the rewards for someone who worked inside Amazon isn't the financial for hitting their targets with tickets. Their reward is to be bumped up. So for instance, if you're at Amazon, you do the 6 weeks training and then you get your feet wet in the final 2 weeks with observation. That will only get you to merchant fulfilled. You need to do another 2 weeks training to get to FBA. So if you think about it that way, once you get to brand registry and more complexity when you get to the catalog team, more and more training will have to take place in order for those support reps to handle the various different topics and the array of questions within inside of the system. So the other thing is, going back to those 18 minutes, all tickets are annotated and summarized in 4 components: pending Amazon action, pending merchant action, resolved, reply, and keep working. So if you think about what time frame that they have, that 18 minutes starts to disappear because depend on the complexity of what needs to be done. They could spend 7 to 12 minutes of that time just annotating the ticket so that other support reps can pick this up. Number 3, all tickets should be raised in English as teams can pick up easy. It goes back to point number 1. When they're when they're doing their annotation, everything is communicated there in English. So let's just say your native tongue is Spanish, you live in Spain. You may as well chat, and you're fluent in English. Raise your tickets in English, because ultimately, whereas Spain and Italy have a small catchment in terms of resources, people in Germany and the UK can still pick up these overflow tickets because they're all annotated in English. So change your language and settings with inside of Seller Central. Communicate everything in English, then you have far more resources to have your tickets answered. Make your tickets keyword rich, giving them greater chance of reaching the right department. This is based on email queues. I'll go into breaking this down further down the line, but it's all about clarity here and understanding the same SOP language that you find internally in Amazon. Number 5, never reopen the same ticket without editing the text. If your ticket is closed and unresolved, it will get caught in a loop. So what happens is, if it's an unusual request, or you've wrote it in a way in Amazon FBA language that you find in the groups and stuff, versus what's in the files, the help files when you search inside Seller Central, the problem you got is the ticket gets opened, they spoil that ticket by closing that ticket down. You get frustrated, you reopen that ticket and send it again. It's only going to land in the same place. So what you're better to do is, if a ticket gets shut down in that way, go through, revise the ticket, break it out, bullet points, headings, make sure you've got absolute clarity, and then send it again. So the AI system, hopefully, which is Paragon, will pick that up and it will send it to the right email queue. And then that will lead, hopefully, to it to being resolved. Number 6, contrary to popular belief, tickets are manually handled with AI suggestions, not auto response. What I mean by that, there's times you raise a ticket and within 2 minutes you've got an answer back, which is cut and paste from the help files, which is about as useful as a chocolate ashtray. Now, what this happens here, these are not autoresponders like you get in autoresponder emails or out of office. What it is, when it lands on the lap of the support associate, the AI suggestion tool will give them options to choose the answer, and they'll have an array to choose from. Over a period of time, the AI improves, and these answers get far more better. But we've seen time and time again, even with the AI suggestions, going back to my point earlier on, it's like having a left-handed screwdriver when you haven't got an arm. So just understand that when these are coming back is that, again, go back to my other point about how you're raising the tickets in terms of getting the comprehension that you need. Number 7, the support associate can access your Seller Central account, but this is protected by fingerprint technology. Most of these people are on distributed teams, and especially through peak COVID, a lot of people are working at home. That's not to say that they can access your account at any time. The reason they've got access to your account is on the proviso of the ticket that is raised, so they can log in and review and resolve that problem quickly. After that, they've got no access back into that account unless a new ticket's raised. And the fingerprint technology is there because obviously with children and family members around with private information working from home, the only people that can log in is the associate based on the fingerprints. Number 8, raise a ticket, then request a callback and reference the ticket, or just pick up the phone or use instant chat to build rapport. Most people fire off tickets, and the problem with that is in most cases, the rep needs to have additional files, PDF, images, paperwork, certification. And what happens is if you speak to the rep on the phone, the communication path is wide open. So you can make notes, oh, I need this, and do you have this? And I'm not sure about this bit. That allows them to resolve the tickets a lot faster and help you. The reason why I'm saying that if you use a request to callback, use the reference point of the ticket that's been documented in the ticket. If it's quite complex, then that is a great way of referencing the ticket. And while the support is looking through your email and you're on the phone, it gives them the opportunity for asking for any additional information. Number 9, captive team is the IIDP team. IIDP stands for Correct Information on Detail Page. IIDP is named across all markets. This does not have a dedicated phone number. So if you ask for the captive team in Europe, it will fall on deaf ears. Around the masterminds, a lot of people talk about the mystical, mythical captive team. But what will happen, let's just say you're in Germany, they have no clue what it is. The captive team that people name is, of course, a nickname that people use outside of Amazon. So if you want catalog issues and stuff like that to be resolved, ask for the IIDP team. And that is using the internal language that they work from their SOPs. Again, often this area is so complex, the associate has to go through a ton of SOPs and ask the seller for more information. Going back to my point in the very beginning, 8 weeks training, 6 weeks, they go and take their training wheels off and they're under observation for the last 2 weeks. It leads back to the point of that when they qualify that, they're only level ready for merchant fulfilled customers. They're not ready for FBA. They're not ready for brand registry. They're not ready for the catalog team, etc., etc. So it's really important to understand, as I get into the next point here, is we are generally far more knowledgeable than 99% of the guys that work inside of Amazon because they work in silos. So do not ask seller support for buy box info, indexing, and the A9 algorithm. There are no internal SOPs for black boxes in support. So we understand that if you go to the help pages, they try out the usual problems with the buy box, and sometimes that's outside of it. Now, you might get people try and be helpful because they're being kind and they want to help you resolve the problem. But once you start talking about complex indexing issues, or then start talking about add to cart things, oh, what about the shuffle, the algorithm's done this, that, and the other, and my rankings drop. one, they're clueless. Two, there is no SOPs for this stuff. So they'll give you lip service at best. Okay, here's the bonus one here. Keyword rich tickets. So Amazon uses, so you've got Paragon, but when it comes to raising the ticket area, you've got Quattro AI, which scans the body of your ticket content in order to determine the right email queue. When raising a case, you have the option to select from predetermined departments as you log in. And now you have describe your issue, confirm your issue, and resolve your issue. So going back to the point, you've got browse for your issue in the menu, but if you're using those three parts of the quadrant, is in order to reach the correct department, you're really going to need to focus on keeping the tickets readable with bullet points and headings. So effectively what you're doing is you're writing a ticket for both humans and bots. So key things to remember again, absolute clarity, good clear titles, subheadings, and use bullet points. And if you need to think about keyword density as well, repeat parts where required and just test and see how that works. And goes back to my point still, when you're doing this and setting it up and you're focusing on writing for bots and for humans, also remember, don't forget to request a callback. So this part of the conversation is to make sure that you're trying to land in the right email queue to get it resolved. And then obviously the phone call is be able to explain the problem with clarity, giving context to this as well. And that's it from me on terms of the presentation. But what I'd like to do is go through some interesting problems to solve with Amazon, which is come up with some of my clients. And so one of the key things of dealing with Amazon itself is not necessarily reacting. There are times when doing nothing is the best option. So to give you a quick example, I had a client that from Australia sells on the US platform, had a panic, and I got a call early morning, and they said, look, Danny, look, I've got this review here. It says this is dangerous to the person's health. Take this product down right now. And so there was the availability to look at the history of this person that left a review. And what it was a social warrior. It was a mum that had a blog and a Facebook page who were going on Amazon and buying products and then testing those products for heavy metals. Now, my client had all the certification in place. There was no issues with heavy metal. She went and got more tests done. So what happened is the social warrior released a text version, not a certificate, released a text version on her blog to say this has got heavy metals in. She'd already done that to at least 30 other Amazon sellers. Some have got cleared through, no heavy metal problems, and the rest of them wasn't. The problem you got is someone within that position probably doesn't have access to 250 grand's worth of equipment to run these tests. So when my client's tests come back and they were clear and they matched the original test before the product started selling, we had two options. So the option was literally go to war, go to the blogger, you know, David and Goliath kind of thing, which would have got completely messy, because also what happened is the person's audience of social warriors went and started doing that on Amazon as well. So what we decided to do is, like, you don't want to go and attack people. And if you think about that, the product was bought on Amazon, negative review left on Amazon. I said to her, look, you've got natural high review velocity. Let's see if that gets picked up by any of the bots for any of the trigger words and get suspended. Because if you go to Amazon and say, look, this is what happens, generally what happens is they shoot you in the face first and ask questions later. So the listing never came down. The reviews got buried naturally from the velocity of incoming reviews from other customers that purchased on the platform. Now, if you'd gone after the social warrior probably would have played the victim. And so the rest of the social warrior's audience would then go back and attack as well. And we could have said, look, there's no proof of certification because they just done it in text format. So what you've got to look at is, in that situation, this is a mum who's brought up her children who had heavy metal poison, and they're trying to do the right thing, but they don't have the technology to back it up, and they are going to get things wrong. So the intentions were right, but obviously this mum has treated another mum, not a big company, another mum raising 3 children on her own, bear in mind, as some sort of big company. So I said, look, here's the scenario. You've got second set of testing. Your sales haven't gone down. You haven't been suspended. The review's been buried. Ignore it. And let's just see if it goes away. So the moral of the story of that is not to get triggered and react instantly, because it's very difficult to, when you're running the business and a lot's at stake, or especially if you're sometimes in Q4, sometimes it's better to do nothing. And doing nothing isn't a weakness. Doing nothing is to see how the ground lies and plays out. So effectively, my client's biggest cost was just getting the second run of certification down to make sure there wasn't any heavy metals in there, versus what could have come out of it. The social warrior blows up, more social warriors jump on, lead negative reviews, the product then gets taken down. Then you got the suspension costs from a third-party company to get you back on to the platform. And then you've got the loss of sales that took place over the period of time that you're down and out of Amazon. So hopefully that's given you some ideas in terms of dealing with seller support. And also coming into Q4, I wish you all well. Q4 is tough. It's the business end, as we know. But yeah, sometimes not reacting is the best thing, but documenting and keeping it in a drawer for a rainy day is probably one of the best things that you can do.
Okay, perfect. Very good information from you. Thanks a lot for sharing these tips, because yeah, we know how sellers can get really frustrated with communicating with seller support, and often I think even sellers kind of get angry and give less information than they should, but that doesn't help, of course, to solve the issue in the end, right?
Well, it just becomes personal. That's the problem. It starts to get to the stage where I've seen Amazon. Okay, let's look at it this way. The only people that care about your business is you. Amazon doesn't care about your business. They care about the customers. And when you're okay with that, you're less triggered over that stuff. What you're doing is you're playing by Amazon rules. And when you're playing by their rules and you understand that you're playing their game, life becomes a lot less stressful. And then what you've got to do is you use your lateral thinking and that, okay, so how do we work around this? How do we deal with these kinds of things? But Amazon's always going to put what they deem as the customer first. Though we're customers, though we sell over 50% or so, 54%, whatever it is on the platform against the against their own brands, that is still going out of the window. And there's no win with that, right? Because if Nike or Adidas or all these different people can't get a win with Amazon, and Amazon saying tough, what chance has a 6, 7, and 8 figure seller got on the platform to go up against them?
All right. Actually, I wanted to mention that this video series is part of the KLIK Box promotional video series, where we invited different Amazon experts to share their knowledge, and with everyone we negotiate special deals. And I know that if people are purchasing the KLIK Box, Danny is going to do with them as additional extra webinar where you will share more things which you would not share publicly, right? Could you tell more?
So it's going to be a mix of stuff. It's going to be some myths and stuff around A9, the algorithm. It's quite in depth, some advanced tech, PPC stuff, and there will be some Seller Central stuff that I've got, like screen grabs and stuff that I can't publicly share on the podcast and stuff. So it'll be 200 slides to go through, but mainly it's going to be PPC, myths, issues with URLs and things like that.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, you will find the links below, relevant links also to Danny's website as well, if you want to know more about what he does. And now I think we have a few questions, right, Lisette?
Yeah, yes, we do have. So let me choose the first one. So I think you mentioned the catalog team in your presentation. So we have a question. What does the catalog team do?
The catalogue team is the people that take care of anything that appears on the detail page and relating or pertaining to flat files. It's more of the complex stuff, not complex for us, like changing the title, there's a problem, or it's normally the errors in the flat file to deal with, or there's something to do with a browse node and it's been moved because Amazon kindly or unkindly will move you out of a perfectly good browse node because some moron in the community decided that's where you should go, and then your sales tank. So you normally speak to the catalogue team on more complex issues like that.
Okay, very good. So somebody wants to know if you have any tips on how to ask seller support to update any product listing information. For example, product images, as it has been gotten so difficult compared to how things used to be in the past.
I don't understand why you'd have such a problem with updating images, because you've normally got a lot of control with that. It depends if the catalogue contributions has been reduced. So if you were going into the vendor program, Amazon takes over the catalogue contributions, make it very difficult for you to make any changes. One thing you could do, not so much with images, but other content, is work with a flat file and see if you can make the changes via the flat file. The other thing is, especially when it comes to title changes, you need to prove why that should be in the title and that it's relevant to the manufacturer's website, i.e. you've got your own website and that's what it says in the title on your website. And this is the information you need to pass on. So you show them the URL or a screen grab or both, right, and annotate that, and make sure you annotate in English as well, is to show them that this is the manufacturer product title. I need this to match as it does on Amazon.
Okay, so regarding to the same question, I think somebody asked if support asks for manufacturer proof, then what do they need to send them? So you mentioned the website and the screen grabs. Is there anything else to provide?
Well, manufacturer's proof generally means invoicing, right, as well, okay? Because even though you're the brand owner, the factory is manufacturing on behalf of you, which the brand that you own. Doesn't matter how it's broken down, you don't own the factory. So it needs to have a manufactured invoice. Now, problem you got, you can't just fake invoices, and nor should you, but not everyone's email template from the factory is set up exactly how Amazon wants the information. So sometimes you have to regenerate the information and ask the factory to include phone number, web address, and because there's certain things that they want to be able to see. And generally what they do is they will phone the factory in a lot of cases, especially if it comes to ungating. They will phone the factory and say, do you manufacture this product? How long have you been doing it for? Just general request on information. And if they're satisfied for that, that's when they will ungate in terms of that category or request more information. But it's very frustrating because when people, pro forma invoices, normal invoices, and the content on their invoice. So you manufactured something, let's say you're reselling, you manufactured something, and that invoice is from 2 years ago and that factory's closed, but they need that information on. It makes it very difficult for your job, because you'll say to support, I don't want to write on this invoice and I don't want to fake the invoice, but I can't put this on there because I don't have access in order to do this. So there's always going to be a level of holes in the system that you have to deal with.
Okay, very good insights from you. Thanks. So we have two types of support, especially for brand owners. So what are the differences between Seller Central support and brand registry support?
One is dedicated to brand registry, the rest is to everything else. There's no real difference other than that's a pit stop of where everything related to brand registry, although you can still raise tickets via the system. But that support team is dedicated to brand registry, and often they answer quite quickly, and they've got more knowledge than your average associate that works at Amazon. Because you think you've got to impregnate the first line of defense. You get a moron on the phone, clueless, been there 8 weeks, right? And it will just spout a load of nonsense back, which clearly and it just becomes really, really frustrating. So anything pertaining to the brand registry, use brand registry support.
Okay, very good. So somebody has a question about account manager. So how can sellers get an account manager from Amazon?
The question you should be asking, why would I want one? Having access to certain deals and things like that and special privileges is why you would have an account manager. Again, most of these account managers would know a fraction of what you know. So if you're looking for a heart to heart and a hand to hold or something like that, the chances are you're still going to know more than they do. And the best benefits to get out of any of those services is if you're doing really well and you're looking to invest heavily in marketing on the platform, you're looking for an edge. That's a good reason why you would go to the account managers for the special deals. But you wouldn't necessarily go to them for suspension. Some might say, yeah, which one? But realistically, I've never seen anyone benefit from having an account manager after the first 6 months, because you've exercised all the options that are available, and often that they get moved around. So then you get a new moron that takes over, and you're like, well, I know more than this person, and they're not picking up the phone, and they disappear into the bricks.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, very, very, very good point from you. Okay, so let's see. Does seller support helps with hijacker issues as well?
Yes, but they don't call them hijackers. That goes back to working out the kind of wording that you need, if people are on your listing, etc. Obviously, they can't have full control over everything, but there's general practices. There's lots of people out there that do podcasts and stuff like that will talk about what to do with hijacker issues, but they're not all foolproof.
Okay. And we have one question from our YouTube viewer as well. How can I get support to claim extra weight handling fee for FBA and solve this issue?
Again, it's raise the ticket under FBA. But there's a big thing going on at the moment where because I do inside Amazon shows as well, and I get the bulletins that are circulated internally to the support teams. And one of the things at the moment is people are manipulating the weight handling. And so what they're doing is they're going around and, you could ask for a bin scan and see if it matches up, but there's been a lot of manipulation and they're onto that. So they're actually clawing back on the fees as a new protocol internally as of about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Danny. And yeah, so what's the best place to follow you for the people?
Just to the podcast, really, go on Apple, like on iTunes and all the other podcatchers, depending on, if you're on Android and stuff, or go to sellersessions.com because they always get published there. There's about 750 episodes now of the podcast. So there's plenty of information. If you do a search on the site, you get a lot of stuff come up.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Lisette. Thank you, Danny. And good luck in your business. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And now I would like to invite you to watch a video with Anton Herman from Space Goats, where he is explaining or giving more tips how to deal better with Amazon seller support. Additional video for you.